Hey, it's Melody. Welcome to A SANER Spin on Crazy, episode 13. This time I'm answering a question that I get a lot about being diagnosed for the first time. What do you do when you're first diagnosed, and what is my advice to you? My first piece of advice to you is do not listen to just my advice. Listen to a lot of different people's advice, take it into consideration, and then decide for yourself. Also, I would make sure to get second, third, fourth, fifth, 12th opinions if you must. And you must. That's the thing. I know a lot of people would say that it's unreasonable to get that many medical opinions and very expensive. Some people can't afford to do it. You can at the beginning. You've got to. You really do. It's because it's an expensive illness. It's going to cost you a lot in the long run. And if you don't get the proper diagnosis up front, it will cost you a lot more in both grief and financially. It'll cost you a lot more. So to do that up front may seem unreasonable at first, and it may be unreasonable. You really shouldn't have to. They should be better at diagnosing. You need to answer questions that are not asked, actually. You need to make sure that you're giving a full history. If you can, bring somebody with you who knows you. I think in terms of diagnosing these illnesses, a huge part of diagnosing it is by mental health professionals, when they diagnose, they need to meet with family members, people that the patient is living with and interacting with every day, because you're still just diagnosing it based on talking to the patient. And inherently, for some reason, the patient may be unreliable in that moment because they're experiencing symptoms of their mental illness. So it's important to meet with other people around that patient as well. So that's your obligation as a patient, to bring in family and say, talk to these other people as well. Like I said, it's going to be hard up front to do all of this, I know, but it may save you a lot in the long term. So this is all part of my biggest piece of advice, which is to educate yourself as much as you possibly can. Don't take just one person's advice. Don't take just one doctor's advice. Any sort of singular place to get as a resource isn't sufficient. Ask your doctor to print out up to date, which is actually really helpful. It's some sort of fancy thing doctors have. They have to pay a lot of money for. But if you can ask them to print up the up to date about whatever your mental illness is, if it's bipolar or schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia or whatever, it'll give you more up-to-date information. Read peer-reviewed journals. Make sure that the sources are trustworthy that you're going to. So it's important to educate yourself. It's also important to educate your family and your community, especially if you're in a minority community. That may be up to you. And you'll decide the level to which you're willing to try and educate other people in terms of how open they are to being educated, if you want them to be part of your support system. And support is a huge part as well. I went to Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance meetings, DBSA meetings, once a week for about 2 years after I was first diagnosed, and that was priceless and valuable. It was so helpful to my recovery. NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, also has free meetings like that. Really, they are amazing in terms of letting you see how other people are coping with the same illnesses. It's one thing to have a doctor telling you what to do. It's another thing to be able to watch other people who have lived experience. So that is another thing that was really helpful to me. Also, the point of educating yourself is that you can also advocate for yourself, that you aren't just educating yourself on medications, what medications you need to be on, if you need to be on medications, lifestyle changes, how important is sleep, diet, exercise, all of those kinds of things. So that is up to you. You need to educate yourself about it so that you can become a better advocate for yourself. And lastly, a big part of my recovery has been not just advocating for myself, but advocating for other people, working with advocacy organizations like NAMI, like DBSA, local ones in your community. You may be able to volunteer with local mental health associations, just different organizations in your own community, and that can be incredibly valuable to be able to go back and help other people dealing with mental illness, not just for yourself, but for other people. So I encourage you, it's been helpful to me. It may not be for everybody, but I encourage you to look into it. So that's my advice for today, and I will be back next week or possibly the week after. Until then, take care. Bye.